Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome. My name is Jody Scholes. I am your instructor for the MBLEx review course. I am delighted to be with you today. We are talking about guidelines to a professional practice. Yes, I know, kind of horrible. But let's see, there we go. Just as a reminder, if you haven't muted yourself, go ahead and do that, or just pay attention if you're, yeah, that's housekeeping. So we're doing guidelines for a professional practice today. I am excited to share this with you. We've got new content, new questions. The class is going to shake out in 3 parts. The first part is our getting to understand the MBLEx. Test-taking strategies come a little later, but sometimes this is this journey of passing the MBLEx is really a journey not only about your knowledge, which we're fostering your knowledge, we're learning, we're refreshing your memory, but I really want to emphasize that this is also as important is that you understand this is about learning how to take a test. It's about learning the test-taking strategies and building your test-taking stamina. So in part 1, we talk about the actual test itself, strategies for the test, understanding that test a little bit better. Then we get into our content, and we've got a lot of content today on this ethics, oh goodness, principles, morals, you know, all these definitions, plus scope of practice, standards of practice, blah, so much. But then at the end of class, we're going to dissect some questions. We're going to put our learning to the test and dissect some questions. So let's go ahead and jump in. Because what I want to show you today, as far as a test-taking strategy, is, let's see, make sure I can get us over here. All right, well, welcome back. Oh, I forgot a little bit about me. You may not know this, but I am a licensed massage therapist. I've been licensed since 1994. I've worked with many athletes. I've worked, that was my gig, you know, medical massage and working with pro and elite athletes. This is a picture from a triathlon that I was working. The picture on the other side is Major League Soccer. I was the massage therapist for DC United for many years, over a decade. I moved from doing a lot of hands-on work to pursue a passion, which is teaching. I became adjunct faculty at Northern Virginia Community College, and now it's been several years that I've been teaching the MBLEx review course. But I still practice massage therapy. I only see 4 or 5 clients a week or so, but I still keep my hands in it for sure. And by the way, I did, even though I was already licensed, I did go ahead and take the MBLEx back in 2016 so that I could walk a mile in your shoes. Today, what I want to remind you of, what I want to remind you of is that there are some very common challenges to taking the MBLEx, and you may have experienced one or more than one of these. Mindset, oh, I get negative, I get discouraged. I mean, several of you have shared with me that you were very discouraged after failing the test. It's normal, but that's where our strength comes from, is in observing our own mindset. Could be a lack of knowledge. Usually it's not. Sometimes it is. But a lack of knowledge can be a challenge, and that's why you're here, right? To make sure that your knowledge is well-rounded. There could be some fear and anxiety around test taking. Several massage therapists, people who become licensed massage therapists, you know, share with me they have test-taking anxiety. That's cool. That's fine. We learn techniques on how to deal with that. And so learning techniques like taking a breath, being present. Fear and anxiety, as a reminder, live in the future. If we're not being present, everything is okay in the present moment. Fear and anxiety live in the future. Yeah. Some students have ineffective study sessions because they don't know what to study. So why you're here again. Inconsistent studying. Look, I say that even 15 minutes, even if you just take 15 minutes and organize your study area, that counts towards progress. It does. But consistent studying is helpful. Meaningless homework, doing stuff that, oh my goodness, it's, honestly, skip the origins and the insertions. It's not going to serve you well. Using memorization as the only tool. You're not going to memorize your way through this test. You're not. There's some things you have to memorize, but memorization is not the key. Using your critical thinking, engaging your brain. Yeah. Feeling overwhelmed by the content, normal. Rushing through test questions, weak test-taking stamina. These are all very common challenges that test takers face. But you know what? You can control all of these. You're in control. You actually can step outside of yourself, even with the worst test-taking anxiety, even feeling so overwhelmed. Step outside of yourself and observe yourself wherever it is, with whatever your challenge is. Pause, become present. All is well in the present moment. You will get through this. I will drag you to success. Now, there are some times we're like, wait, I need a break. That's fine. If that feeling is so strong, you need a break, you take a break. It's fine. Because you are on a path with divine order. This journey is perfect. It may not feel perfect, but it's perfect for you. And I am holding the intention that everyone that is in this class, even everyone watching later, I am holding the high watch for you. I'm holding the intention for you that you are going to pass this test. And for many of you, you know who you are. For many of you, it's going to be this year. For many of you, not many. For a few of you, it's going to be next month. I am so excited to celebrate with you. But just understand that these challenges that come up, you are in control. So even in the day that you're taking your test, leaving early, having good sleep the night before, having people around you that support you, or having no one around you so you can focus. These are all things you can control. So just wanted to give you back your power that you can control these things. All right, let's do some learning. Today, we are talking about guidelines to a professional practice. The image that you see in front of you is a boat going through navigational beacons. So one is a lighthouse and the other is just a beacon that probably makes a noise or shines a light. But we're going to be talking about how to keep your practice on track and some of the concepts that you're going to want to be familiar with as far as guidelines to a professional practice. So we're going to first talk about the scope of practice. So you'll see here it says scope of practice versus standards of practice. So we are doing this review for the MBLEx. And so those are two very different concepts: scope of practice and standard of practice. It may sound the same, but it's different. Let's take a look. All right, so the scope of your practice is about what activities are allowed. The scope, so the doctor's scope of practice, the nurse's scope of practice. Our scope of practice, it's the when, the where, the why, how, what we can do. And so what are allowed? So in general, what we're allowed to do is perform manipulation on soft tissue. Likewise, we can do energy work. So generally, we are not allowed to diagnose. We are not allowed to prescribe. And that goes beyond writing a prescription. We are not allowed to actually prescribe. This is like homework for, say, design an exercise routine. We're not allowed to design nutrition plans. That is out of the scope of practice, unless you have a degree or a certification that is in addition to your massage therapy license. So no diagnosing, no prescribing. We can make recommendations, but usually we want to wait until we're asked. It's out of the scope of practice. We can ask, would you be interested to know some stretches? Would you be interested to know what exercises might support what you're going through? That is asking the client permission. That's within the scope of our practice. But just saying, hey, you need to do this to get better, it is out of the scope of what we're allowed to do. We also cannot intentionally manipulate the joints. So we can't give our clients an adjustment. That is not, sometimes when we're doing the work, we hear a pop, pop. That's muscles releasing and bones moving back into place. Our massage treatment is designed to generate homeostasis for the body, homeostasis being a place of rest, homeostasis being healthy, all systems working well, but we're not allowed to intentionally manipulate joints. Now, if we do traction, on the fingers and, boom, boom, something pops, that's great. We're technically, when a joint cracks, it's a slight release of gas within that joint capsule, but we can't intentionally apply force, say, to the spine with the intention of adjusting. It's out of the scope of our practice. Now, scope of practice varies state to state. You'll see in this slide, these are the 4 states that still have no licensure. Now, Minnesota, it's by jurisdiction, it's by county, it's by city. And Kansas, actually, Kansas now has it as well. My apologies. Kansas does have that. But I thought there were 4. Anyhow, I'll update this slide when and I'll let you guys know what the states are that do not have licenses to practice. Definitely Vermont, Wyoming, and Minnesota don't have a statewide license. New York and Hawaii have their own exam. They don't actually accept the Umblex. California and Arizona are also in a state of flux right now. This is the year is 2022. California and Arizona are in a state of flux in whether or not they are going to accept the Umblex or change that. But most likely the state that you're in, it's a rubber stamp. As soon as you pass that Umblex, you've got your ticket to licensure. So that was scope of practice. There are 6 standards of practice. I want to just briefly go through these so that you can be familiar with the terminology. One of our standard of practice is that we will facilitate professionalism. So what does professionalism look like? Appropriate draping, wearing of clothing that are professional, that are, and not like, a suit and a tie, but that you're intentional about representing yourself as a professional. So those are some words that you'll see in your practice exams. If you're using the Online Learning Center, there are different terminologies. Professionalism is a standard of practice. It is what we say ethically that we are going to bring to massage therapy, is a level of professionalism. And I know if you're here and you're listening, that is something that you feel in alignment with. Another standard of practice is to know your legal and ethical requirements. We just saw a slide that was the picture of the United States, but you really need to know your legal and ethical requirements for your state. So how do you find out your legal and ethical requirements? Well, you can go and request from your state agency, your state massage therapy agency. You can look up your AMTA chapter. You can go to the State Department of Revenue and Consumer Affairs for, if you can find it, but you can also walk into City Hall. You can walk into your county clerk's office. Remember, there's a difference between having your license to practice massage therapy from the Federation and your professional license. So you will most often, almost 100% of the time, need to have both. So your license to practice massage therapy comes from the Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards. Your professional license comes from a regulatory agency. So town hall, city hall. In one of the towns that I practiced in, I needed a town license, a county license, and a state license, in addition to having passed the Umblex. That was the requirement. So you need to know your requirements. All right. Third standard of practice, confidentiality. So if you see a question about confidentiality, know that you are expected to keep your client records confidential. You are also expected not to speak about your client. You can use the condition. You can say, I am treating a client with Graves' disease. I am treating a client with fibromyalgia, but you are not allowed to say the client's name. If a outside doctor, an outside therapist requests records from you, the confidentiality rules say that that client needs to sign a release form in order to have any of their records sent off to other therapists, other practitioners, other doctors, no matter what. So our standard of practice is we keep a confidentiality, and only if that client has signed a medical release form are we allowed to even acknowledge that we're treating this client. That is as part of this of confidentiality. The fourth standard of practice is to have honorable and safe and clear business practices. So not offering cash discounts for one clientele, or offering discounts over here, charging an extra 3% for anyone who uses a credit card. Business practices means that your practices are standardized, that they are fair, that they are the same for everyone. It's like, oh, now if you decide to say, I offer a senior citizen discount, I offer a military discount, we still need to be really clear about that. Do you offer a military discount just for active duty, for active and retired, for active, retired, and families? These are part of your business practices. And if you need help on policies and procedures, please just hit me up. I have a whole 3-ring binder that I'm happy to give you so that you can start your practice with a set of policies that make sense. So these business practices, filing your taxes, just business practices. You are actually becoming a business person, even if you're a sole proprietor, even if you're just operating out of your home, even if you're only asking for a donation or a tip. Right now, you can ask for a tip or a donation for your services. You cannot charge, but you can have a recommended donation, a recommended tip. They don't have to. It's like when you go to church and they say, oh, you want to go to a class? It's a recommended love offering, for this class. That is within the standard of practice, but it has to be the same for everyone. And if you have a friends and family policy, then you have a policy that's a part of your best business practices. All right, enough on that. Can you tell I like business practices? And the fifth standard, roles and boundaries. We have roles and boundaries that we have a whole class on, right? Dual relationships, setting safe boundaries. That is a part of the standard of practice, knowing our roles and our boundaries. So, and I'll leave that at that. And our sixth practice is the prevention of sexual misconduct. We had a lively conversation about the 7-step intervention model to what to do if a client tries to sexualize the massage. It is a standard of practice. It is actually your responsibility to understand how to prevent the sexualization of the massage session. It starts with making the appointment. It starts with setting a tone when you make the appointment. Usually that's our time. When you make the appointment, that's when we get out the people who have ulterior motives. So right during that time. The second place, we eliminate, we control anyone who might have inappropriate intentions, is during the health intake. You must do a health intake, even if it's 5 minutes verbal. You set the tone for the massage. If you don't do a health intake, you don't set a tone, and inappropriate behavior can occur. Part of the prevention of sexual misconduct is by having a good, solid appointment making script, doing a health intake, and then appropriate draping during the session, and addressing any concerns you may have with comments, movement, and we'll go over, if we have time at the end, we'll go over that 7-step intervention model again. But that's our sixth standard, is the prevention of sexual misconduct. All right, let's move into some definitions. And we're going to be talking about these 6 words today. And you'll see this word cloud on the right-hand side. That's because they're all related. Yeah. Ethics, principles, values, morals, integrity, laws. Those words are all related, and you could be on the Umblex asked questions to define these, how they're related, what do they actually mean? Let's go through them. All right, the definition of ethics. Ethics are moral principles that govern a person's or a group's behavior. So they're the principles that the ethics of a person, the ethics of a group, it's their moral principles. And it's usually of the group, but it can be of an individual. So ethics govern behavior. Principles. Principles are rules or laws of behavior. So we talked about ethics, our moral principles. Principles on their own are rules of behavior. So they govern that they actually show up and affect your behavior so that you can live with integrity. And we use this in a sentence. I believe in that respect and kindness are 2 important principles that we learn in regard on how to treat people. Principles. You'll start to see, may need to listen to this twice. This may be where you want to do a little memorization or have some key words. In this case, with principles, I've italicized rules or laws of behavior. Mostly rules, because we're going to define laws in just a minute. Values. Values are the principles and beliefs that influence behavior and way of life. So values are long-lasting. Values are ideals that are shared, maybe by your family, maybe by your religion, maybe by your spiritual beliefs, maybe by where you grew up. So, and values can be very different in different cultures, right? So think about India. In India, they they consider the cow sacred. In America, we consider the cow dinner. Very different value system there. So it talks, values speak to what is good or bad, but really desirable or undesirable. I don't like to use right or wrong, good or bad, because it's all perception, but desirable or undesirable speak to our values. Morals. Morals are a person's standard of behavior, beliefs. Morals is where we get the right or wrong. And typically morals have some attachment to shame and guilt. So when we eliminate right and wrong, this is just as a human being, I'm speaking to you now. If there is no right or wrong, then we eliminate shame and guilt. When we recognize that we are perfect in every way, we eliminate our shame and guilt. But morals, they're about our belief system. What's acceptable, what's not acceptable. And something that Aristotle said even thousands of years ago is moral excellence comes as a result of habit. We become just by doing just acts. We become temperate by doing temperate acts. We become brave by doing brave acts. Moral excellence. Hope that makes sense for you. Integrity. This is one that's probably familiar. This is the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, moral uprightness. The quality of being honest. Now, speaking from our truth, integrity. Oh, so the 3 levels of integrity. Keep your agreements, do what you say you're going to do. Be true to your own self. Be true to your principles. What if it does not feel right? Then you're out of integrity. And so these are qualities that we bring to our massage therapy practice. We have one more word to define, and that is laws. Laws. You've heard about those, right? A law is a binding practice of a community. So some communities have laws. Usually it's written down. So it's a codified rule of conduct. It's written down. It's something that is accepted by the culture, by the community. So we like to think about the laws for when we drive. There are speed limits. We stop at stop signs. These are laws. These are practices that as a community, we have all agreed on, written down, and said we will abide by this. And when we break those laws, then there can be punishment repercussions. Yeah. All right, I'm resisting the urge to talk more about universal laws there. So we'll come back to that another time. Let's take a quick stretch break. Wow. So we're about halfway through the class. Yeah. Good job. Let me check my chat, see if anyone's got questions. We're clear. Yay. I did see, Raquel, that you're interested in maybe the business practices binder. Happy again to send that for you. All right, so stretch, move, take a sip of water. You like my little geeky guy? How about those knee socks, huh? All right. Let's get into dissecting some questions. We've got plenty of time today because these questions are going to speak to those definitions. Let's get clear. Ready to dissect the questions? Yes. The definition of principles is, okay, let's work through these, all right? A binding custom or practice of a community. So we have 4 answers on this question. Recently, I believe it was Charla, who's been in touch with someone who took the Umblex and A few of the questions had just 3 answers. But in our examples today, we're going to do 4. The definition of principles is a binding custom or practice of a community. Rules or laws of behavior that enable a person to behave with integrity. A person's standards of behavior or beliefs concerning what is wrong, what is and is not acceptable for them to do, our thoughts on right and wrong. D, moral principles that govern a person or a group's behavior. All right, so we're going to use our test-taking techniques, strategy. Can we eliminate? What can we eliminate? So if we're going to put a letter in the chat box, what letter can we eliminate? Ah, very good. Yes, I'm seeing A. We can eliminate letter A, a binding custom or practice of a community. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense, right? So A is gone. All right. Okay. So let's see. Rules or laws of behavior that enable a person to behave with integrity. Okay. Principles. We're going to learn a little technique here. So a principal is also someone from a high school, right? And when do you see the principal? When you have bad what? If you go to the principal's office, you have bad
behavior.
Yes, thank you. Bad behavior. Yes. And so principles are actually about behavior. Take a look at this slide. I've given you a little hint. So we know that A is not in our choices, but we have B, C, or D. A person's standard of behavior or beliefs. C has the word behavior in it as well. Rules or laws of behavior that enable a person to behave with integrity. Oh, moral principles that govern a person or a group's behavior. So the definition of principles can't have principles in it. So we're eliminating A and D so far. Let's see what we got here. Yes. Yes, thank you. All right, so we're at B and C. Go ahead and make your best guess. I like your chances at 50%. So rules or laws of behavior, a person's standard of behavior or beliefs concerning what is and not acceptable for them to do, our thoughts on right and wrong. Principles have to do with integrity. Do principles have to do with right and wrong? All right, let's take a peek. We're split 50-50. It's actually B. Yes. So it really could be either, right? But the technical definition, rules or laws, internal rules, internal laws that enable a person to behave with integrity. Let's go ahead and take a look at a person's standard of behavior. This letter C, let me go ahead and go back for just a moment, if you'll humor me, because I'm going to go back to morals. A person's standards of behaviors or belief concerning what is and is not acceptable. Our thoughts on right and wrong. C is actually morals. But principles and morals, they're like kissing cousins. So, rules or laws of behavior that enable a person. So principles are linked to integrity. Morals have to do with right and wrong. Again, they're almost interchangeable, but principles have to do with integrity. Morals have to do with right and wrong. All right, let's move on. So, definition, I believe that's an extra slide. Definition of principles, we've already done that. Yep, okay. All right, blank. Blank are codified rules of conduct set forth by a society, generally based on ethical or moral principles. So codified rules, let's pause here for just a minute. I'm going to show you how to break down this question. All right, ready? What's the question really asking? Because if you get a question like this on the Umblex, it can throw you off. So we're going to breathe. Our head is in the game. What's the question really asking? Okay. Rules of conduct. Codified. That just means it's written down. It's a code that's accepted. Shared ethical or moral principles. You see this in the dark, in the highlighted part of the question. Codified rules. Okay, so let's eliminate 2 wrong answers. Yes. Rules, behavior, integrity. When you have integrity, you don't go to the principal's office. All right. But back to this. Eliminate 2 wrong answers. So rules. Our ethics rules? Our learning styles rules? Our assessments rules? Our laws rules? Let's move forward in this. Our learning styles? Are they codified rules? No, that doesn't fit, right? Okay. Are assessments codified rules of conduct? Are assessments codified rules of conduct? No. So now we have a 50-50 chance. Blank are codified rules of conduct. So I like your chances here. Good. Take out B and C. That's right, Reva. Yep, exactly. They don't fit, right? Let's see. All right, so now you get to pick your best answer. I like your chances at 50-50. Go ahead in the chat. Codified rules. Is that ethics or is that laws? It wouldn't have ethics in a question about ethics. There we go. Oh, ethical, right? It wouldn't say it twice. Good point. Very good, Charlotte. Good catch. All right, let's take a look. I see what I got for answers here. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, there we go. I like it. I like it. You guys got this one. Boom. The answer is laws, letter D. Laws are codified rules of conduct set by a society, generally based on shared ethical moral principles. We took this right from the text. Here's the rationale. And now and then on your practice exam, you'll see this pop up. So the definition, so you'll see the rationale. You'll see, oh, I got that question right. Oh, I didn't get that question right. And here's why. Ethics are the philosophy of right and wrong, moral duties, ethics or professional behavior. Obviously, learning styles is how somebody learns. Visual, auditory, kinesthetic. There's actually, I think, 5 or 6 now different learning styles. Assessment is basically a test, right? A systematic method or an approach to gathering information about a client's conditions. Oh, so we're talking about assessment of client assessment. So it is a systematic method. How are you doing your health intake? How are you doing your client's assessment? So laws. Laws was the answer. All right, let's move away from these. Excuse me. Here is a question that is asked in the flip, in the negative. So it's flipped. What ribs do not attach to the sternum? Let's take a peek. A, 6 through 12. B, 1 and 2, and 8 through 12. C, 1, rib number 1, and 8 through 12. Ribs 8 through 12. So you can see this on your screen. What ribs do not attach to the sternum? Now, be careful there, right? Because you're like, oh, I know. Wait for it. Dissect the questions. What are the 3 main points about this question? We're talking about the ribs. So the 3 main points about this question are, we're talking about the ribs. We're asked what ribs don't attach, do not attach to the sternum. And where's the sternum? Tap your sternum. It's your breastbone. So what ribs do not attach to the sternum? So you find the stem, what they call the stem of the question, by asking, okay, what is this question really about? What are the main points of this question? That's finding the stem, and it's do not attach. So don't miss that. Pay attention when you're answering these questions, because sometimes they flip them around on you. All right. In fact, you can even you can reword the question. If you're not sure what this question is asking, reword it and say, for example, the ribs that don't attach to the sternum are, and sometimes that helps your brain to get the answer. So the original question was, what ribs do not attach to the sternum? We've reworded the question to say, the ribs that do not attach to the sternum are, and we have our answers. Okay, so let's take a look. Eliminate the distractors. Every question, almost every question on the Umblex has a distractor. That means that the answer could be right, but it's not the most right answer. We talk about finding the best answer. So for those of you who have taken the test and you didn't pass, you may have picked the right answer, but you didn't pick the best answer. We have to find the best answer. So let's eliminate the distractors, the two wrong answers. All right. So the question is, what ribs do not attach to the sternum? Seems plausible. Ribs 6 through 12 may not attach to the sternum. Okay, ribs 1 and 2 and 8 through 12. Where are ribs 1 and 2? Where do we find those ribs 1 and 2? They're actually way up here, right? So here's our clavicle as we come down. So ribs 1 and 2 are all the way up here, right? So yeah, so they must attach. Those first two ribs, right? Must attach to the sternum. They're right here. Sternum, right? All the ribs attach to the spine. That's where they start. They come out from the spine and they come around and attach to the sternum. Come around and attach. So we know that's not the right answer, right? So if ribs 1 and 2 are definitely attached, then we know that's not the right answer. And then we can eliminate letter C, right? Because rib 1. So we eliminated our two distractors. Ribs 8 through 12, ribs 6 through 12. Ribs 6 through 12, ribs 8 through 12. Let's see what you have for answers. Yes, the manubrium. Yes, that's part of the sternum. Yep, there's 3 parts to the sternum. Yep, the manubrium is right in the middle. Yep, the sternum is all 3 parts. The xiphoid process. Yep, okay. Oh, there we go, there we go. You guys are good. Bang. Make your best guess. You did. And the correct answer is yes, ribs 8 through 12. Good job. Good job. Yes, and that question. So the purpose of going through that exercise is to implement your test taking strategies. All right. So that's a wrap for the dissecting the question. That's a wrap actually for our slides. However, and I don't know if you can see this, but next week we take a break and we'll resume on September 8th. But we have time to go through the 7-step intervention model. But before we do that, let me see if there are any questions on the content that we have that we've covered. Any questions on that content? Yes, let's see. I don't see any questions going in the chat. All right. So let's go ahead.
Sorry. Quick question. The codified laws are codified?
Codified rules of conduct.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Versus that could have gone into ethics as well. I mean, I know we went over that pretty well, but the key word was codified, I believe.
Yeah, that is the word that I've seen.
Mhm.
And they're written down. So there's the other
Yeah.
distinction between laws and ethics, is that the laws are written down. But the
Okay.
codified rules of conduct, it's something a society is following, whereas ethics is something I'm following. It could be a
Yeah.
society,
Right.
but ethics leans more towards personal,
Mhm.
whereas laws lean more towards community.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know. Some of these words, they're so close together. Morals and principles, you know?
Well, what I also found tricky listening to other things about professionalism versus occupation.
Oh, yes. Yes. So thank you for bringing that up, Lynn, because professionalism is one of our standards of practice. Be
Right.
very careful. There are three words that have to do with professionalism. Professionalism, professional, and profession. So your profession is massage therapy. That's your occupation. You are a professional. You can also act in a professional manner, but you are a profession. So you have to be careful. This for you guys who have English as a second language, God bless you. But professional, your profession is your occupation. You are a licensed healthcare professional. That's a noun, right? Person, place, or thing. And then professionalism is how you approach your work. It is a standard of practice. We can say, I will approach my practice in a professional way. And that is the standard of practice of professionalism. So that's kind of the professionalism is the umbrella. It's the standard, is what we are asked to be. And that is acting in a professional way. So that's, our language, what we wear. I mean, these how the environment in our office. And then the third again is profession, which is occupation. Hope that makes sense.
Definitely.
Yeah, can be tricky. So especially if we're trying to cruise through a question, if we're trying to just get a quickie, every question you have 90 seconds. All right. If we do the math, an hour and 50 minutes gives you 110 minutes to take 100 questions. So you've got about 75 to 90 seconds for every question. There's going to be a few that you're just like, oh, I know that, I know that, I know that. And it's only going to take you maybe 20 seconds. They'll be easier questions. So stay steady with your effort, but also understand sometimes these little nuances like the word profession, professionalism, professional, just make sure you're tuned in to what word they're speaking to. Morals, ethics, principles. Again, we don't want to dilly-dally, but we want to use our test-taking strategies, eliminate 2 wrong answers. That you can do relatively quickly. And then you can pause with the 2 you have remaining. So, other questions on this content?
Yes, Miss Jody. This is Raquel. And first, I apologize that I was not muted earlier, but I did want to say I am interested in the folder, the file that you have, because I do want to go into private practice. And I do have a space, but I didn't know that we could take donations and tips. So I could have been utilizing my skills, keeping my practice, my improving my skills until I took the test. So please, I would like that information.
I sure will. I sure will. And look, you guys, that's why I share that with you, Because here's the thing, until you know you're allowed to take a tip, until you know you're allowed to take a donation, you would have been practicing like, you're like, well, I'm not supposed to be doing this, but, you know, and so it's okay. Go ahead. Yeah. You know, give yourself a little cash flow, give yourself some, I strongly recommend you get your hands on people and keep those skills sharp. Yeah. And
Thank you.
also,
Anybody in Knoxville, Tennessee, come see me.
okay, yeah, awesome. And Charlotte's somewhere in Tennessee.
So, Miss, hi, this
Right.
Shireen. Hi. So, to be clear, so I live in Mount Vernon, Illinois. Cause in my house, I have a massage room already set up. So I can't like make flyers enough. I can be like, hey, so how would I do that?
Well, depending on your zip code is what your recommended donation would be, your recommended tip, your recommended gratuity. You know, again, use your language. And we have one of our students is in a small town in Iowa. We have a student out of South Dakota. And then those zip codes, you know, I would say 60 minutes for $60 is a nice recommended donation. You got
Wow.
to
So,
promise me though, you're going to
yes.
go to well, go ahead, Shereen.
So I can, of course, I can't like promote it, right, or make flyers, but I can if it's Miss Jody for years, because I've been out of school 11 years. I've turned down hundreds of massages. They're like, well, used to be a massage, can you practice on me? I'm like, I'm not licensed, so I can't do nothing. For 11 years, I've turned down. Because
Not anymore.
I mean, that's like, you know my story. The state of Illinois sent me my license before I even took the test. So out of integrity, ethics, and everything else, I sent it back. So
here we go, baby. Out of integrity, you know, and it's very important. If you had taken that license, you would not have felt an integrity.
okay.
And so you did the right thing.
Yes, ma'am.
You did the right thing for you.
Yes, ma'am.
And what we're doing now is we're getting you ready to pass that test and also get some cash flow.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I mean, if you feel more comfortable at $20, look, money is energy, right? We learned this
Yeah.
in school. And so we're giving a service, we're giving of our time.
Mm-hmm.
And so our clients, our practice bodies can give us something back. That in the form of energy, that can be, and that can be money. Yes. But we do need to call it a donation or a tip.
Yes.
It's not a fee for service.
Right. It's not a fee for service.
Mm-hmm.
And so if someone come to me, I'm like, okay, yeah, I just have a donation, you know.
It's a donation, yes. And really, what do people donate?
Money, right.
Well, and Shireen, if I said, if I was your client, oh, really, if I want to have an appointment with you, Shireen, and you'll take it for a donation, you know, what do most people donate?
You say go by my state, you say $60 for an hour, right?
Where are you, Shireen? What state? Illinois. So the top of the market in Illinois is anywhere from $100 to $125, you know, for a 1 hour session, right? And so we want to also choose an amount that is going to make sense when you raise your rates. So when you have your license, will you go to 85? Will you go to 100? You know, and whatever that is, I would say we land right around, you know, the $60 mark. It's easy to say too. You know, most people donate $60 for 60 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
Now, I also would say once I'm licensed, I'm going to have to charge more.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to have to actually have a fee that's higher.
Right. But I can't make flyers or nothing. Just
no, not right now. Well, you know, it depends how you would word it. I would just be cautious and say that, you know, I'm preparing to take my test and I'm accepting practice bodies, or I'm accepting, I'm looking for people willing to let me practice with them to keep my skills sharp.
Right.
And then when they make the appointment, when they contact you, you're like, look, I want to be super clear. I am not licensed.
Right.
However, I am preparing to take my license. This is a practice session. It will be
Yes, ma'am.
very professional, and there is a recommended donation.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You see how those words kind of, I want you to use your words, but those are some words that you can consider.
I will represent you well because I look up to you. I wouldn't do nothing that I know Miss Jody would not approve. So,
Absolutely.
no-
I'll come. Miss Lynn,
Jody, there's no logistical issue with that?
can you say that again, hon?
There's no logistical issue with that?
Logistical, there's a legal issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we want to be super transparent. If we were to represent ourselves to the public as someone who's accepting future clients,
Mm-hmm.
so we want to be very transparent about that. I would work with friends and family, personally. I wouldn't necessarily go out and recruit people that I don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I would stay within my community or within my church or within my club or within, my neighborhood, for people that I already know and trust, especially if they're coming into your home,
Sure.
right? Because they're going to see, are there dishes in the sink? Is your bathroom clean? So do you have a designated bathroom? Do they have to walk through some personal space? Are they going to see a spouse, a partner, kids, dog? These are all things to take into consideration.
I would go to them anyhow.
That I like that. And again, making the appointment is key. It is key to setting the tone. Also, when you produce a flyer, because eventually, if you need help with flyers, let me know. But eventually, when you represent yourself as a massage therapist, certainly you'll get business cards. And in the online learning center, there's a bunch of modules on business as well, which would be fun to talk about at some point. Yeah, maybe after you graduate, I'll have to think about that. But you want to set the tone with your flyer, set the tone with your business card, because there are guys out there who get massage and they go to places where they either have sex or they have hand jobs. They're offered a sexual massage. And so we want to set that tone right from the beginning, that this is a therapeutic practice. This is a professional practice, kind of like medical massage. It's for therapy. So we can. So the question is, yes, period, yes. Can we purchase business cards to say just that? We absolutely can. You can design your own business cards from Vistaprint or from other, and if you need help designing a business card or just what ingredients to put on a business card, I'll put that in the patron site. I'll load in a few of those videos to the patron site. So if you care to watch them, but there is, you want a name, you want a phone number, you don't necessarily want an address, you want an email, maybe a designated email that is, Myla Massage or, something that says, LMT or something, an email that is your work email is a good recommendation. And I know checking email is not your favorite thing probably, but again, it's best practices, right? It's business practices. We're getting in that business mindset. And really this is what I do when I'm not teaching is I am a consultant for massage practices on how to get to either 100,000, 250,000 or 500,000 in business. So those are some of the consulting things. And that's why there's videos too. But back to where you're at, yes, you can get business cards and they don't have to say student. They can say graduate, but I would just and you don't put LMT until you're an LMT, right? So, but you can have personal business cards. Meet a cute guy, meet a cute girl. Want to hand out a business card? Yeah, Yeah, Lynn's got her business cards. Who else has business cards? Look at you. I love it. Awesome. Awesome. I want you to take a picture of both sides of that and send it to me, Lynn. Good. Shereen, you got cards? Excellent. Excellent. Look, I'm encouraging you. I follow the letter of the law, but I also want you to see yourself in your practice. See yourself as a practicing massage therapist. I want you to keep your skills sharp. That first 100 bodies, get them done. Get them done now. Yep. Yes. Yes. Now you can put them to use. Absolutely. Yay. Good. All right. I'm going to pause the recording. I'm going to actually wrap up the recording now, so that it's not much more than an hour. So my name again is Jody Scholes. Thank you so much for listening today. This concludes our guidelines to a professional practice session. Join us again. We'll be resuming, if you're live and in 2022, we'll be resuming on September 8th, our weekly classes. We're taking a short break, but just know that I see you being very successful with this test. I know this. The fact that you're taking this time is sending a strong message to the universe that you are ready. And it's divine order. The time is now.